name's Ty Wheeler. I'm the co-owner of Rope Training Consulting. Today we're going to be discussing the Firefighter 1 ropes and knots skills for testing. All right, first we're going to talk about the different anatomy of the rope. So first we're going to grab our rope bag, okay? We're going to talk about our rope. So obviously in the book, a lot of different types of rope out there. But the first thing that we need to know is different aspects of ropes. The first thing you need to know is that all of this is NFPA 2500. If you have any questions on further rope or technical rescue skills, information, or requirements, NFPA 2500 is going to be the NFPA standard to look at. So first, we got to look at the rope that we're going to be using and the different components. First is a bight. So all it is two parallel sections of that rope, and then there's a loop at the end. The next one is a loop. So this one just crosses over itself. And then finally, there's a turnaround, which the rope does in complete 180 degrees all the way around. So those are the three most important aspects of the ropes and different turns that we're going to be needed in order to tie these ropes. First, we're going to tie the figure eight. The figure eight, when we tie this, I like to hold it as such. The working end is in my left hand and the end of the rope is in my right hand. What I like to do is I like to spin once to create a loop, and then I spin again, and then I take my end and stick it through the top hole. This creates our figure eight knot. So one more time. I like to spin it once, spin it one more time, go in the top hole, and that creates our figure eight knots. To build off that, we also have something called a figure eight on a bight, okay? So again, we're gonna create a pretty big bight in the rope, and we're gonna repeat the same process, okay? We're going to spin it once, spin it twice, our end comes through the top, and this is our figure eight on a bight. One more time. I create a bight in the loop, in the rope. I spin it once, I spin it again, take my loop through the top hole, and I have my figure eight on a bight. The next loop we're going to talk about is a figure eight follow through. A figure eight follow through, what we're going to do is create a figure eight as we normally would. So loop once, loop it twice, and come through. The biggest part and most important part is to ensure that we have a long end. If we don't, we're unable to do the follow through. So with the follow through, what we're trying to accomplish is we're going to go around an object. Okay, so whether it's securing a saw or a fan that we're trying to hoist up, we're going to go around an object. For tech rescue stuff, and maybe even a tree or some other type of object. Okay, so we can go around that, and then all we're going to do is follow this same rope and trace it back through. So we're going to come down following this loop, move to the front, around, come back through, we're going to come up, and then we need to go through the bottom. That is a figure 8 follow through. You see that we create a loop so we can tie this around something. Again, we'll repeat the process one more time. So create a figure 8, 1, 2. Have a long working end. And again, all we're going to do is trace the figure 8 back, following the rope that we're holding in our hand. So we're going to come through. Okay, and then we're going to go around the front, up and through. We're going to come around and then down to the bottom. Your working end and the end of your rope should be parallel, facing the same direction when you are complete with this. That is figure 8 follow through. Figure 8 follow through. The next knot that we are going to tie is a clove hitch. We can have an open clove hitch and a closed clove hitch. So what that means, an open clove hitch means that you can loop it over top of something. A closed hitch is what you're going to tie it around an object, such as a ladder. Okay. For the open, we are going to create this two different ways. One way I like to do it is if I grab the rope in both hands, I have my right hand is an underhand grip, my left hand is an overhand grip. If you notice, both of my fingers are pointing to the same side. It doesn't matter if it's left side or right side. I'm right-handed, so they're pointing to the right. All we're going to do is take this and we're going to point our thumbs from right to left, and that creates two loops, okay? From here, when you have two loops, the one in the right, or the one that goes over top in front of, has to go behind the other, okay? If we go this way, it's not going to create a loop. We have to take these and crisscross them in the back, and that creates our our clove hitch knot, okay? Again, one more time, if we do it this way, underhand, overhand, I have my thumbs pointing to the right-hand side. I can spin those around to point to the left. I'm creating two loops. The loop that is looped to the front, you have a loop that's looped to the back. The loop that goes to the front goes behind the back loop, and there we have our clove hitch. Another easy way to do this as well is to make one front loop, one back loop, and then crisscross them again. So if you notice, my right side, I'm going forward. My left side, I'm creating a back loop, and then we crisscross them to make our clove hitch. We're going to show you how to tie a clove hitch around a horizontal object. In this case, we're going to use a ladder to demonstrate this. I'm going to start on my left-hand side. I'm going to go left to right. Then I'm gonna go right to left. On top of the horizontal object, I should see an X with my rope. I'm gonna go around and then shoot back up through this top rope section. If we look at this, you can kind of see if we spread it apart, it looks like an H, at least it does to me. I have a vertical, and then a cross section of that rope. Okay, so one more time, I'm gonna start my left hand. I'm gonna go left to right, right to left, and then I'm gonna go back up and through the top crossing section of that rope. That is a closed clove hitch on a horizontal object. So now we're going to use a beam of the ladder for our closed clove hitch on a vertical object, okay? A little saying that I like to use is we're going to go around and then under, then we're going to move above this loop to go around and under. Again, that should have our, looks like kind of like an H there. Again, this is going to be on a vertical object. So, one more time, we're gonna go around the object and then a rope's gonna go under. We're gonna do the same thing again. We're gonna go around and then we're going to shoot under this rope that we just went around the object with. And that should create our clove hitch on a vertical object. Next, we're going to talk about the bowline. The bowline is one of the more difficult ones to teach and do. This can be used to tie things around an object as well. Okay. Again, whether that be for hoisting or whether that be for tech rescue application. I do this a little bit differently than most people do. We can show you a few different ways. What I like to do is I hold the end in my right, the working end in my left. I like to go around and pop it back up and through. I have a loop on this back side that I'm hanging onto. Then I also have the working end dangling to the ground. I go around that with this, and then I grab or follow my wrist back up and through, and I pull to create the bowline knot. One more time with how I do it. Again, we have our object. We're going to go around. So create a loop, and you're going to go through the loop. Okay, and then we have this rope that's here, the working end of the rope. I'm going to incorporate that. My rope's going to go underneath, and then I'm going to follow that rope right back up and through to tie the bowline knot. Another way to tie the bowline, and I'm going to turn around so you guys can see. The first thing I'm going to do is create a loop. Okay, so we're going to have a little crossover there. I'm going to take my end, go backside, and then I'm going to go around the rope that's hanging, and I'm going to follow this back up through the rope I just had. That created your bowline. One more time with that. I'm going to create a loop. We're going to go in. We're going to create a loop. Again, we're going to twist the loop forward so the back is hanging down. I'm going to go in the hole, down around the working end, and then back up through the hole. I'm going to grab these two together and we're going to pull to make a bowline. Obviously a pretty small bowline, but it's a bowline. Okay, one more thing that we're going to have to talk about before we move on with actually hoisting tools. The one thing that we need to talk about is our safety line, or safety knot. Our safety knot is not tied with our rope, it is tied around a rope. So with our end that we have here, we are going to tie a overhand knot around this. So we're going to put the rope inside, and then we're going to tie a safety knot over top of. This should be able to move freely, okay? So that is a safety knot on a figure 8. So anytime we do a knot, we have to make sure that we have a safety knot. This is a critical fail when it goes to state testing. So when we start talking about our hoisting of tools and skills like that, they always need to have a safety knot in them. So make sure we're leaving enough tail that we can tie those and accomplish a safety knot. Okay, so now we're going to move on to hoisting tools. One thing that we're going to start with, because it is one of the easier ones to tie, is going to be an axe. Okay, hoisting an axe can be done a few different ways. So we're going to have to use 2 different knots to do this. Okay, so when we have it upright like so, I can either choose between a clove hitch or a figure 8 knot to tie this. To do a clove hitch, I'm going to tie my clove hitch as normal, so leave a little bit of a tail there to do my safety. I'm going to do my open clove hitch, and I'm going to go around and slide it over the top. I can tighten this up. I'm going to come around and I'm going to tie my safety knot over here. Okay, with my safety knot tied, I'm going to go around the base or the head of the axe, and we're going to go up to the top. From here, this requires 1 half turn here to go up top. So we have a clove hitch with our safety. We have a half hitch up top here to secure it to the handle. And that is one way and the way to tie an open clove hitch with a half hitch. If you don't prefer the half hitch, we can also do a figure 8 on a bite. Okay, so same thing. I'm going to create my figure 8 on a bite. Dress my knot here so it's nice and tight and looks good. Okay, I'm going to loop that over the handle and around the base of the head again. Okay, we can also tie our overhand knot right here. That is our safety knot that we now have tied. And then as I go up, I'm still going to do a half hitch and go from there. The most important part when we do a half hitch, all we are doing is we're creating a loop. So we're just crossing it over and make sure that the working end is on the bottom. Tighten it up, and that'll create the friction to hoist the tool up. Okay, so those are your two options. An open clove hitch, you can also do a closed clove hitch if you choose, with a safety, and then a half hitch to the top. Next, we're going to talk about hoisting a pike pole or a hook. This is my cutoff hook for demonstration purposes. So the biggest thing to note when we tie this is that our point or our hook end, our pike pole or our Z-hook, New York hook, the head is pointing upwards, so we hoist it with it going upwards. The butt is going to be pointed down, okay? The first thing that we're going to do with this is we're going to do a open clove hitch on this. So we're going to take our rope, we're going to do a clove hitch. We're going to loop that over the hook. We're going to tighten, and then we are also going to tie our overhand safety. Okay. From there, with a hook, we have to do 2 half hitches, okay? So you're gonna go to the top, you're gonna create 1 half hitch, kind of filter it down midway, and then we're gonna do another half hitch to make 3 half hitches. Ideally, this top one is going to run on the hook itself, and that is going to be how to hoist our pike pole or hook. Clove hitch with a safety, half hitch, and a half hitch. Next, we're going to talk about hoisting a ladder, okay? When we hoist a ladder, we are going to do a large, very large figure 8 on a bite, okay? The bigger we make this, the easier it's going to be for us. So again, make our loop one more time, go back through, okay? And what we are going to do, if it is laying on the ground, we are going to run it on the bottom. You can either choose to do 2 or 3 rungs. It doesn't matter. Okay, we're going to go to the third here. We're going to bring our rope up. And what we're going to do is we're going to loop our rope over our 2 beams. Okay, so bring it up. We loop it on our end. When we are done, with this, if we hold this straight up, you can see how there's a triangle here, okay? When we have both beams underneath the rung looped. This is how you know this is a correct hoisting of the ladder. This triangle may be larger or smaller depending on how big you make your bite for your figure 8 on a bite, but this is how it should look. And then we're going to lift it straight up. A lot of times, and it's important when you do this skill, that you also have a tag line, which is another line tied to the butt of the ladder to help hoist it and pull it away from the building when you're hoisting it, okay? Otherwise, this thing's gonna kind of sway and it could hit the building. So make sure we have a tag line and tie the tag line to the butt, the bottom rung, somewhere down there to help pull it away from the building as well. Next, it is hoisting power equipment. So this can be a fan, or this could be a saw, rotary or a chainsaw. It doesn't matter, either one. I have a generator at my house right now, so we're going to talk about a generator. Okay, so what we like to do with this, and again, you can tie all these the same way, is we are going to first tie a figure 8, and then we're going to do a figure 8 follow through. So I'm going to make sure that I get a lot of slack on my tail here, and then I'm going to take my figure 8, loop around, and then I'm just going to trace as I normally would. I'm going to come up, through, make sure I have enough. I'm going to go around the base. I'm going to follow that back through hole, come back up and around the top, and then back through the bottom for one more. There, and then obviously we know by now that we need to tie a overhand safety. That is how we're going to hoist power equipment. Figure 8, follow through with a safety knot up top, and then we can hoist this. Next, we're going to talk about hoisting an uncharged hose line. Two different skills for this, uncharged and then charged. This one will be the uncharged method. When we do an uncharged method, what we want to do is fold the hose over on top of itself. So we'll just create a fold with this hose, making sure that our nozzle is shut and we have one single fold for this. Then what we're going to do is very similar to how we hoist an axe or our pike pole. We're going to do a clove hitch with a half hitch. So we can do a closed clove hitch, or we can do an open, or a closed or an open, it doesn't matter, okay? So I'm gonna come in from the top side of the fold here, and I'm going to bring this all the way down to the nozzle section, and I'm going to tighten it up. I'm gonna take my tail, go around, and then I'm going to tie my overhand safety once again. Once we have that, then we're going to move up and do a half hitch on the top side of the fold. So there you can see we have our half hitch with our safety nut. Sorry, our clove hitch with our safety nut, and then we have our half hitch up top to hoist this straight up. The final hoist is going to be a charged hose line. To do this, we're first going to make a clove hitch, open clove hitch over the top of the nozzle, bring that down a few feet. We're going to tie it around, and this one we can actually tie our safety to the actual hose. From there, we're going to run our working end up. We're going to make a bite, stick it through the bail, loop it over top of the nozzle, and then we're going to pull this up. In this configuration, this is going to ensure that the bail is going to be pulled first, which means it's going to be pulled shut. There's no chance of this opening. So it's a open clove with a safety on. Stick your bite up through the bail over top of the nozzle here, and then we're going to come back out and pull on the bail itself.